Ini adalah
Jokowi called for the acceleration of a global economic recovery in G20 summit. BPS reported inflation of 0.12% in October 2021. Hello, good evening viewers. Market Headlines is ready to provide you information from business, economic and capital market sector. And as the pandemic is still ongoing, we'll provide you the latest COVID-19 information. Please stay safe by taking some simple precautions such as physical distancing, wearing a mask, avoiding crowds, and cleaning your hands and having less mobility. And with me, Fajar Wayong, this is Market Headline. Let's start market headlines. President Joko Widodo called for the acceleration of a global economic recovery that is strong, inclusive and sustainable at the G20 summit in Rome, Italy. The president said that the G20 needs to serve as a catalyst for the normalization of economic policy, since in the last 2 years, the world has carried out extraordinary policies in the fiscal, monetary and finance sectors. The G20 needs to also be a catalyst for debt liquidity and restructuring for poorer countries, as well as global connectivity for sectors that rely on human and goods mobility, including tourism and manufacturing. Minister of Foreign Affairs Retno Marsudi stated that the president called for the strengthening of global health architecture, and the president said that the G20 needs to be a part of the solution for reducing gaps and scarcity in the availability of vaccines, medicines, and essential medical equipment.
Di mana Bapak Presiden menyampaikan statement nasional terkait dengan ekonomi dan kesehatan global. Ketiga, mengoptimalkan peran G20 dalam upaya mengatasi kelangkaan dan kesenjangan vaksin, obat-obatan, dan alat kesehatan esensial. Selain penguatan ketahanan kesehatan global, Bapak Presiden juga menekankan pentingnya mempercepat pemulihan ekonomi global yang lebih kuat, lebih inklusif, dan berkelanjutan. Dan pada sesi ini terbentuk pandangan bersama di antara para leaders bahwa keadaan pandemi belum usai dan ekonomi dunia masih belum bangkit kembali. Kemudian para leaders juga menyampaikan pandangan perlunya melakukan vaksinasi 40% pada akhir 2021, 70% pada pertengahan 2022.
Minister of Finance Sri Mulyani said the global economic recovery from the tremendous impacts of COVID-19 pandemic is facing challenges, namely unequal access to vaccines, soaring inflation, and supply disruption. Minister of Finance Sri Mulyani Indrawati said the global economic recovery from the tremendous impacts of COVID-19 pandemic is underway, though it does not occur in all parts of the world, partly due to unequal access to vaccines. Sri Mulyani said in addition to the unequal access to vaccines, the world's economic recovery is also threatened by inflation driven by soaring energy prices and supply chain disruption. She said that this is happening in all countries whose economic recoveries are very fast despite experiencing complications in the form of rising energy prices and supply chain disruptions.
Dan ketidakmerataan salah satu penyebabnya adalah karena akses vaksin yang tidak merata di seluruh dunia. Ada negara-negara yang sampai hari ini bahkan jumlah vaksinasinya dari penduduknya kurang dari 3%. Di negara-negara Afrika, rata-rata yang di negara-negara miskin baru 6% dari penduduknya. Sementara negara-negara maju sudah melakukan vaksinasi di atas 70% atau bahkan mendekati 100%.
Furthermore, the Minister of Finance explained that the increase in energy occurred very quickly because investment in the energy sector, especially non-renewable energy, had fallen sharply in the face of soaring energy demand due to the economic recovery. The situation led to high inflation in various countries. IDX Channel reports. Following President Joko Widodo's bilateral meeting with Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison in Rome, Coordinating Minister for the Economy Erlangga Hartarto announced that Australia had opened entry access for Indonesian and also allowed its citizens to travel to Indonesia. Erlangga added that Australians can visit Indonesia, especially for those who have received 2 injections of the COVID-19 vaccine. Erlangga stated that Australia would follow the quarantine rules implemented by Indonesia. In addition to visits to Indonesia, the Australian government has also opened its country to visits by Indonesian, especially in several states. Meanwhile, not only discussing travel between countries, the Indonesia-Australia bilateral meeting also discussed energy and climate change.
Yang antara lain membahas tentang energi dan perubahan iklim, dan ini disepakati Australia juga mendukung bahwa kita mendukung kebijakan di sektor energi dan transisi daripada energi itu sendiri. Kemudian yang terkait dengan vaksin travel lane, ini mereka akan merevitalisasi daripada turis, dan mereka akan membolehkan negaranya untuk melakukan travel ke berbagai negara termasuk Indonesia, terutama mereka yang sudah 2 kali divaksin. Dan tentunya tadi Indonesia menyampaikan bahwa dari luar negeri ke Indonesia masih ada aturan mengenai kuarantin. Nah, tentu mereka akan ikut kuarantin yang diterapkan oleh Indonesia. Namun di samping itu mereka juga sudah membuka terhadap orang Indonesia, terutama di 2 negara bagian yang sudah membuka, yaitu New South Wales dan
And we're moving on to global update. The world leaders agreed to historic corporate tax deal in G20 summit in Rome. Meanwhile, Saudi Aramco profit in the third quarter soars after oil price rally. And more stories on today's International Minute. Leaders of the world's 20 major economies have approved a global agreement that will see the profits of large businesses taxed at least 15%. It follows concerns that multinational companies are rerouting their profits through low-tax jurisdictions. The pact was agreed by all the leaders attending the G20 summit in Rome. Climate change and COVID are also on the agenda of the summit, which is the leaders' first in-person gathering since the start of the pandemic. According to Reuters news agency, the tax deal will be enforced by 2023. Greta Thunberg has called on banks to stop funding our destruction ahead of the UN COP26 climate summit. The teenage Swedish climate activist is in London to take part in protests demanding the financial system stops funding fossil fuel projects. She told that change is possible at the summit if pressure on politicians is maintained. But she added that she has not been officially invited to speak at the event in Glasgow. Facebook has changed its corporate name to Meta as part of a majority brand. The company said it would better encompass what it does as it broadens its reach beyond social media into areas like virtual reality. The change does not apply to its individual platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, only the parent company that owns them. The move follows a series of negative stories about Facebook based on documents leaked by an ex-employee. Saudi Aramco has said its third quarter net profit more than doubled, boosted by higher crude oil prices and volume sold. Net income jumped to $30.4 billion for the quarter to September 30, from $11.8 billion a year earlier. Oil prices have rallied to multi-year highs, with global crude futures climbing 4.5% in the quarter, helped by the decision by OPEC Plus to maintain its planned output increase rather than raising it on global supply concerns. IDX Channel reports. Market headlines will be right back. Stay tuned on us.
Kini aplikasi mClears hadir di handphone Anda untuk memudahkan transaksi Anda. Informasi aktivitas clearing dan penjaminan tidak lagi hanya dapat diakses melalui komputer di kantor Anda, melainkan dapat diakses di mana saja dan kapan saja dalam genggaman Anda. Fitur-fitur mClears. Equity clearing dan settlement adalah fitur di mana Anda dapat melihat posisi kewajiban settlement anggota clearing hingga nilai alternate ke settlement serta informasi gagal bayar. Risk management adalah fitur di mana Anda dapat melihat posisi trading limit, collateral, MKBD, portofolio harian, discharge anggota clearing dan kombinasi, serta nilai minimum cash collateral. Derivatif adalah fitur di mana Anda dapat melihat posisi trading limit, margin call, dan informasi clearing derivatif. Terkait pinjam-meminjam efek, terdapat fitur mengenai borrowing information dan lendable pool information, serta lending revenue dan borrowing fee. Serta menu lain yang menampilkan informasi mengenai haircut, discharge saham, dan nilai harga penyelesaian harian dan harga penyelesaian final. Selain itu, Anda juga dapat mengakses fitur pengumuman, peraturan, dan informasi layanan KPEI pada aplikasi mClears. Download aplikasi mClears di App Store atau Google Play Store. Lakukan registrasi user Anda dengan menggunakan alamat email berdomain resmi yang sesuai dengan anggota clearing Anda. Setelah registrasi, Anda akan diberikan kode OTP di email Anda untuk verifikasi, dan aplikasi mClears Anda siap untuk digunakan. Anda dapat mengakses seluruh menu pada aplikasi mClears dengan melakukan aktivasi berlangganan premium yang dapat dilakukan dengan memilih menu Get Premium. Download aplikasinya sekarang, lakukan registrasi, dan dapatkan kemudahan dalam genggaman tangan Anda. Kemudahan informasi KPEI dalam genggaman Anda.
Welcome back on Market Headlines. The Central Statistics Agency, or BPS, reported that the Consumer Price Index in October 2021 experienced inflation of 0.12%. This realization was reversed from September 2021, which experienced a deflation of 0.04%. Thus, inflation for the calendar year, January to October 2021, will be 0.93% year to date, while when compared to the same period last year, inflation was 1.66% year-on-year. He explained that BPS had monitored 90 cities in Indonesia throughout October 2021, of which 68 cities experienced inflation, while 22 cities experienced deflation.
Oktober 2021 ini terjadi inflasi sebesar 0,12%. Bahkan kalau kita perhatikan dalam grafik ini ya, bahwa inflasi secara Y on Y sebesar 1,66 ini merupakan tertinggi kedua ya sejak bulan Mei tahun 2021 yang sebesar 1,68%, di mana pada bulan Mei itu adalah ada perayaan Idul Fitri. Semua komponen menunjukkan semua kelompok pengeluaran, itu menunjukkan inflasi, dan tertinggi itu terjadi pada kelompok transportasi ya. Transportasi itu terjadi inflasi sebesar 0,33, di mana andilnya sebesar 0,
Minister of Industry is confidently say that Indonesia's economy is largely supported by the manufacturing industry, as evident from investment in the industrial sector until September 2021, which accounted for 35.9% of the total national investment. Indonesia's economy is largely supported by the manufacturing industry, as evident from investment in the industrial sector, which accounted for 35.9% of the total national investment in January to September 2021, the industry minister has said. During the period, investment in the industrial sector reached 236.8 trillion rupiah, or $6.6 billion, Minister Agus Gumiwang Kartasasmita noted in a statement. As per data from the Investment Ministry and the Investment Coordinating Board, or BKPM, domestic investment in the industrial sector reached 63 trillion rupiah, or $4.4 billion, and foreign investment in the industrial sector touched 173.8 trillion, or $2.2 billion in the 9 months since January 2021. The data indicates that foreign investors have faith in Indonesia as the right choice to build their production base, Kartasasmita said. IDX Channel reports. Coordinating Minister for Maritime Affairs and Investment Luhut Binsar Panjaitan projects that Indonesia to become a high-income country in 2045. Meanwhile, by the end of 2021, Indonesia's economic growth is estimated will be in the range of 3.7 to 4.5%. He conveyed this projection when he attended the second Pacific exhibition, which was held by the Indonesian Embassy in Wellington, New Zealand virtually. Meanwhile, the prediction of Indonesia's economic growth next year, Luhut is optimistic that it will increase in the range of 5.2 to 5.5% and then grow to 6% through economic transformation. Meanwhile, the prediction of Indonesia's economic growth next year, Luhut is optimistic that it will increase in the range of 5.2 to 5.5% through economic transformation.
Capital insertion in promising new companies is critical to our economic future, whether to create new jobs, develop new solutions to emerging problems, or seed the new businesses. By 2030, we expected to achieve a 10% net export contribution to GDP, double the productivity level to enhance output while managing costs and gain higher R&D spending share to GDP to build local innovation capabilities.
Chairman of the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, or Kadin, Arsyad Rashid, opined that Indonesia needs to develop digitalization in maritime industries in a bid to revive the country's economy amid the COVID-19 pandemic. The ongoing urbanization in various regions in Indonesia, especially in cities outside Java, had prompted an increase in the demands for logistics. The Kadin chairman Arsyad Rashid opined that this urbanization growth requires additional logistics and infrastructure to connect islands and support the growing trend of e-commerce. Rashid affirmed that Kadin has prepared 5 strategies to support the shipping and maritime logistics industries in Indonesia. The first strategy is forming a partnership between public and private players to create a digital logistics platform in a bid to create transparency in the system. The second strategy is integrating data from all related stakeholders in public and private sectors to create a holistic view of all matters related to logistics, while the third one is related to efforts to encourage the development of digital logistics technology. For instance, through mentoring programs and improvement of access to funding. The fourth strategy is recommending necessary changes in regulations to facilitate information sharing between the public and private sectors. And the final one is developing information and telecommunication networks for sea transportation to support digitization. IDX Channel reports. And stay with us because market headlines will be back after this quick break with information from the capital market.
Awali hari Anda dengan beragam informasi bisnis terkini yang kami kemas dalam berita teraktual dan berkualitas. Power Breakfast, informasi terkini seputar ekonomi, bisnis, pasar modal, dan industri kreatif yang dikemas secara ringan. New Screen menyajikan informasi ekonomi, bisnis, dan keuangan. Market Headline menayangkan berita ekonomi dan bisnis dalam bahasa Inggris. Saksikan program-program berita ekonomi dan bisnis terkini langsung dari sumbernya, live hanya di IDX Channel. Your Trustworthy Economic, Business, and Capital Market Channel.
Aku percaya kita semua kan lahir dengan sebuah visi gitu. Aku melihat bahwa edukasi anak-anak ini adalah hal penting yang bukan cuma tanggung jawab orang tua, tapi tanggung jawab orang-orang yang memiliki passion atau gerakan di bidang itu. Nah, aku merasa visi aku adalah di edukasi anak-anak. Aku tahu persis bahwa aku mau membantu anak-anak Indonesia dalam ranah ini.
Sebanyak 7 bank telah menyetujui restrukturisasi kredit PT Waskita Karya Persero Tbk dengan outstanding sebesar 21,9 triliun rupiah.
Pemirsa, Bursa Efek Indonesia mencatat saat ini terdapat 12 emiten yang berencana melakukan buyback saham.
Pertimbangan dengan 4 rekomendasi saham ini, Pak Rofandi, mungkin untuk Akra terlebih dahulu, Pak.
2 hari ini mungkin dia akan berkonsolidasi dan akan terjadi rebound.
Welcome back on Market Headlines. At the Jakarta Composite Index intraday movement earlier today, JCI was open at the level of 6,618.12. And then approaching the closing time on the first session, the index was on the level of 6,599.89. And then the index was showing weakening trend by the second session closing time. Index was closed at the level of 6,552.89. And in short, Jakarta Composite Index went down 0.58%. From the JCI movement, let's see the sectoral movement. Leading the dynamics of today's trading, we got cyclic as the leader of strengthening trend that went up 0.92%. Health went up 0.58%. And we got non-cyclic as the leader of weakening, went down 1.39%. And finance went down 1.23%. From the sectoral, we're moving on to top gainers and top losers. Here are the key highlights from today's trading session. From top gainers, Senin Indonesia went up 3.28% to the level of 8,650 rupiah per share. Kalbe Pharma went up 3.9% to the level of 1,600 rupiah per share. Friend went up 4.17% to the level of 100 rupiah per share, and Bukalapak went up 1.44% to the level of 705 rupiah per share. And let's see the top losers for today's trading. Bank Rakyat Indonesia went down 1.38% to the level of 4,290 rupiah per share. And Central Asia went down 1.1%, to the level of 7,450 rupiah per share. Bank Negara Indonesia went down 2.75% to the level of 7,075 rupiah per share. And Unilever Indonesia went down 2.16% to the level of 4,540 rupiah per share. And let's see the intraday movement of rupiah towards US dollar. Open at the level of 14,165. Rupiah was also showing weakening trend towards US dollar, and it was closed at the level of 14,174. In summary, rupiah went down 0.14%. As of the third quarter of 2021, Gudang Garam experienced a decrease in net profit to 4.14 trillion rupiah. The decline in net profit was mainly influenced by the increase in the total cost of revenue. As of the third quarter of 2021, Gudang Garam experienced a decrease in net profit to 4.14 trillion rupiah. Meanwhile, total liabilities rose to 25.53 trillion due to excise, VAT and cigarette taxes of 18.75 trillion rupiah. Based on the financial report, the decline in net profit for the third quarter of 2021 was mainly influenced by the increase in the total cost of revenue during the first 9 months of this year. Until the end of the third quarter of 2021, Gudang Garam's revenue was recorded at 92.07 trillion rupiah, an increase compared to the same period in 2020 of 83.38 trillion rupiah. However, the cost of revenue for the first 9 months of this year jumped to 81.67 trillion rupiah from 70.39 trillion in the third quarter of 2020. IDX Channel reports. The hospital management company Siloam International Hospital reported a net profit of 531.95 billion rupiah in the third quarter of 2021. This performance improved compared to the same period in the previous year, where the company still suffered a loss of 48.79 billion rupiah. One of the positive performances in the first 9 months of 2021 was driven by a significant increase in revenue. Based on interim financial report, Siloam's revenue increased by 43.08% on an annual basis to 7.14 trillion rupiah at the end of September last year. The income was obtained from non-specialist services of 5.88 trillion rupiah and specialist services of 1.25 trillion rupiah. The high non-specialist income was due to inpatient income, which rose almost 50% to 3.19 trillion rupiah, while total outpatient income also grew 43% to 2.69 trillion rupiah. Until the third quarter of 2021, Astra Auto Parts managed to record a 27.92% increase in revenue compared to the same period last year. The company even managed to make a profit compared to last year's loss position. The unaudited financial report as of September 30, 2021 shows the company posted a net income of 11.04 trillion rupiah, up 27.92% compared to the same period last year of 8.63 trillion rupiah. Along with the increase in revenue, the cost of revenue also increased to 9.65 trillion rupiah. Meanwhile, selling expenses increased to 589.46 billion from 512.31 billion, while general and administrative expenses also increased to 621.24 billion from 540.26 billion. Despite the increase in expenses, the company managed to get a share of the net profit of associates and joint ventures after tax of 358.7 billion. The post in 9 months last year recorded a loss of 225.4 billion rupiah. As a result, Astra Auto Parts managed to record a net profit of 446.4 billion in 9 months of this year, while last year the company recorded a loss of 242.92 billion rupiah. IDX Channel reports. And step aside from market condition as the efforts in achieving herd immunity is still going on. Here is an update data about COVID-19 vaccinations in Indonesia. And viewers, the news close our market headlines today. Please enjoy our next program on IDX Channel, your trustworthy economic, business and capital market channel. And to prevent the spread of COVID-19, always wear a mask and get vaccinated immediately. Masks have been shown to reduce the risk of transmission by 80%, while vaccines minimize the risk of death by 73%. And let's wear masks and get vaccinated, because masks and vaccines makes us healthy and happy. And I'm Fajar Wayong. Have a nice evening and stay safe.